What up, fam? DISL Automatic checking in. Got a special request video today. This one is dedicated to the students of Professor Ha's Sociology 101 class at MiraCosta College out in Oceanside, California. What up, y'all? Professor Ha asked if I would hop on this camera real quick and touch on the issue of the drug war in the United States of America. So I'm gonna get into that, but before I do, for those of you who don't know, Professor Ha came across my song War on Drugs is a War on Us, and if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. The link will be down below in the info section, along with links to various resources for information pertaining to the war on drugs, so you could get a better overall understanding with all of that. The links will be down below. Also, all of my links to social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So check me out, follow me, subscribe, connect with me on social media if you so choose. And yeah, so that's about it. Let me get into, I wanted to spit just this verse that I have. It's from a song called Prisoners of War, which is also a song that's unreleased, but it's a song about the war on drugs. So I just wanted to spit this one verse real quick a cappella for y'all, so you could get an idea of my stance when it comes to the drug war. So check it out. Yo, we gotta wake up and realize prohibition's a fail. There's more drugs at cheaper prices, meaning more sales, more availability, much better quality, more people using regardless of drug policy, more non-violent offenders seeing the pen, more taxpayers' dollars that are being spent and funneled by the government. Thus far $1 trillion. Addicts need help, but the drug laws are killing them. There's 3 ways we can stop the devastation: legalization, regulation, and education. This is a matter of our inherent liberty, privacy, rights, and personal responsibility. Laws cannot impose upon a mental or a physical. Drug prohibition advocates are hypocritical. The fact that alcohol and tobacco are legal, yet they're more lethal than drugs that people use, mean your views are feeble. Small-minded folks blinded by the smoke and mirrors. I never spoken clearer, so I really hope you hear the message that I'm bringing. Time we put an end to this war against the people and then start a prison exodus. Cheer. Yeah, so that's one of my verses from an upcoming song called Prisoners of War. That'll be dropping 2017, so stay tuned for that. And again, check out War on Drugs is a War on Us. That's my previous song. That's down in the info section below. The link is. Also, lots of links to valuable information, valuable resources in terms of doing research on the war on drugs down below. So check that out, because today I'm not really going to dive too deep into the politics behind it and the conspiracy, the corporate conspiracy, the government conspiracy, because that's what it actually is. It's not a theory. It is in fact a conspiracy, one of the biggest maybe of all time, definitely in American history. So today, Professor Ha, well, first of all, big up Professor Ha. Y'all students watching this, you're very lucky to have a professor like Professor Ha. She's dope. So I hope y'all appreciate it. I wish I would have had teachers back in the day talking to me about real relevant social issues, like the war on drugs, for example. So big up Professor Ha. Y'all better appreciate her. So what I wanted to do is just, touch on the war on drugs in terms of how it affected me personally, which was a huge reason why I actually became a raptivist. I've been a rapper my whole life. Previously was more into commercial, things of that nature. But the war on drugs had a huge impact on me, very personally. I grew up in Chicago on the north side. Most people, when they think of Chicago and the hood and, the street culture, crime, hustling, gang banging, they think of the west side and the south side, which definitely, I've been out that way, and it definitely is a whole different world as compared to the north side. But don't get it twisted, we still on the north side, there were hoods and very similar things taking place, maybe just not to the degree that they were on the south and west side. But anyway, I grew up in and around a neighborhood, a hood called Rogers Park on the north side of Chicago. It was known as the Jungle back when I was a kid. And so from a small age was exposed to certain things, and friends and people around the neighborhood, and of course the music that I listened to, and everything played a part. But regardless, long story short, because I'll be here for days talking about this. But basically, as I grew up, I got more immersed into street culture, if you will, and got to hustling. And, you know, I mean, I wasn't any type of, kingpin or nothing like that. But, you know, I was moving a little bit of weight or whatever. So eventually ended up getting set up by people I was close with and got popped off. And as a first time non-violent offender, first time I got indicted with a Class X felony charge. And Class X felony, for those of you who don't know, is the same as murder. And with that charge, with that indictment, came a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence. And his first time, squeaky clean record. 10-year mandatory minimum sentence. Maximum of 30 was what it was. But if y'all don't know mandatory minimum, that means you ain't getting out for 10 years. There's no parole, there's no good behavior, nothing. So that in and of itself is a huge injustice. Even looking at it from a perspective of, well, drugs shouldn't be legal, they should be illegal. If you get caught with them, you should do time, you should this or that. Even in that context, anyone who has ever heard about my situation can't believe, you know, that for a first time nonviolent offender with a relatively small amount of drugs is what I was caught with, 1/8 of a kilo of cocaine. If you know, if y'all are familiar with with those quantities, it's not a lot at all. So I mean, I was moving more at the time, but that's neither here nor there. The point is what I got caught with, and what the sentencing was based on was that. So, and I'm not gonna get into how I dealt with it and all of these, because again, I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. But you can imagine, it rocked my world. It flipped my world upside down. And it wasn't just me. You know, many of the people I grew up with succumbed to the drug war, whether in the form of being locked up, a lot of people being killed, street violence, which is a direct result of the drug war. It's a direct result of prohibition, just like it was in the early 1900s in the States with alcohol prohibition, which gave rise to the Italian mob in Chicago, ironically, you know, Capone and the mafia, if you will. So prohibition, it never works. All it does is create a black market for the product that is being prohibited, and with a black market that is deregulated, no rules, no regulations, no anything. It's basically anything goes. So everybody can be exposed to it. Kids could get their hands on the product that is outlawed, and it's just been proven that it does no good for anyone. So I've seen a lot of it firsthand and obviously experienced it very deeply myself. And I didn't even know back in the days. So once I found out the truth about the war on drugs, it just prompted me to, you know, to go hard with my activism and my raptivism. And, you know, the war on drugs, that's just one aspect of what I do. Like, you know, check me out. I touch on a wide variety of subjects. But, you know, it also, I've seen it affect people in different ways that sometimes people wouldn't even realize it affects. For example, one of my homies back in the day, he was killed, and he was at his crib, he was at home, and somebody came to his house in the middle of the night and ended up shooting him, killing him in front of his own house. Cops came, they found a little bit of weed, a little bit of marijuana in his home. And we knew, you know, this was my guy. He wasn't my best friend, but we were close. And I knew he wasn't hustling or anything. He had it for his own personal use. But the cops, they came, they searched his crib, they found the weed, and they basically wrote it off as a drug-related murder and essentially closed the case. So see how this ties in. Like, this is a young man whose life was taken, and even if it was due to drug dealing, like, for them to just write it off as such, obviously there's racial undertones behind it. All of that comes into play. But, you know, the psychology that goes into the war on drugs and people's mind state when dealing with people that they perceive as drug users or drug dealers. He was just dealing drugs, that's why he got killed, who cares? And my friends and his closer friends, they all had their own theory about who actually killed him, and they told the police, but the police weren't trying to hear it. It was just another black dude selling drugs, dead. So you see, it impacts us in so many different ways. And I'm from Chicago, and I'm sure a lot of you know about the gun violence. It's a big deal in Chicago, and Chicago has some strict gun laws. But another thing we can't ignore, we have to, if we're talking about guns and reducing the amount of gun violence, if we're not talking about ending the war on drugs, then we ain't talking about nothing, period. Straight up, because these young people, they're out here killing each other. They're in gangs. Gangs are fighting over territory. The higher ups ain't doing it. They're calling the shots to the younger ones, the ones who are out there thugging it. You know what I'm saying? In the street, killing each other over territory, essentially. Sure, some of them run wild and just shoot over colors and flags and different things of that nature. But essentially, the higher ups that are calling the shots, they do so because they want to lock down the territory so they can flip their product and make profit. Obviously, that's how it goes. So that is what prohibition creates. And most of the gun violence in the street is a result of this. So if we're talking about stopping the violence in the streets, and we're not talking about the ending the war on drugs, then either we are terribly ignorant to the truth of the matter, or we have an agenda. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's a whole nother story as well that I'm not gonna dive too deep into. I wish I could come speak in front of y'all and just give like a presentation, because there's so much to say. But really though, I guess I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm already going over my time limit. But I really wanted to touch on the deepest fundamental issue behind the war on drugs, or ending the war on drugs rather, and that's simply freedom, inherent liberty. That's it. Justice. But it's all about freedom. Like I said in the rap, the government can't impose upon a mental or a physical. And that's exactly what drug laws do. Like, look, I'm not saying, drugs are fine for everybody. Nah, even marijuana has so many medicinal uses and positive spiritual elements and mental elements, but yet and still, it's not for everyone. But it's just like alcohol. Alcohol isn't either. Not everybody should be drinking, but alcohol is legal. It's regulated. Tobacco, I mentioned that in my rap. All of that stands. So we can't have these hypocritical double standards. It's a matter as an adult of taking responsibility, freedom. The government is not supposed to be able to tell me I can't alter my mind if I want to. Now, if I take a mind-altering substance and I do something to someone else, then sure, the law could come and say, wait a second, boom, and maybe they'll take me to a therapist, and I'll have to receive help and try to deal with that addiction or whatever it may be. But to simply say you cannot do this to yourself, to your own mind and your own body, that is the utmost, the deepest form of slavery. That's it. And it's really interesting. There's a movie from back in the day, well, not that long ago, but with Tom Cruise, I believe, Minority Report, I believe it's called, where they do like the pre-crime, detective work or whatever it is, and basically catch people before they even committed a crime. They see into the future or whatever. So, but this pre-crime, this happens all the time with drugs. Like, look, you get popped off, the cops pop you off, and you got, let's say an ounce of weed on you. You're not smoking it. They didn't catch you selling it. So just the possession, the mere possession of something, they don't know what you're gonna do with it. For all they know, you could go and throw it out. You know what I'm saying? But that wouldn't hold up in court. That argument doesn't hold up in court. So technically, in essence, that is pre-crime. They're saying, well, you have this product and you might sell it or you might use it to hurt yourself. So to prevent you from hurting yourself, we're gonna hurt you by locking you up. I mean, it's insanity, my people. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, but if drugs are legal, what about crack and cocaine and heroin? And yo, listen, I know, you know what I'm saying? Those things could be very detrimental. They are right now. And that's the point. People will not be stopped by prohibition. They never have been. They are not being stopped right now. All drug use has grown exponentially since the inception of the war on drugs. That's proof enough. Prohibition doesn't work. It's kind of like, the forbidden fruit theory. people want what they think they can't have or what they're told not to have. So, but also these drug laws, they make it very difficult for addicts to actually get help. Addicts die, people overdose, they don't want to call the cops because they're afraid to get arrested. So instead they die, they don't receive the proper treatment. You know, they use dirty needles. That's how they contract diseases, AIDS, infections, all types of things. Look at Portugal, my people. Research Portugal, what they've done with drug laws and decriminalization, and instead of criminalizing and attacking addicts, they actually make places where they could go and get clean needles and spend the night in the shower and have clean food. And they have all these new programs for addicts and users, and all the statistics have gone down. Drug use, addiction, crime, all these things have gone down drastically in Portugal. So, I mean, it's just at the point where the war on drugs is a huge success for the corporations and for the government and for the people lobbying and for all these fat cats. It's a huge failure in terms of what it was actually supposed to set out to do. So it's as simple as that. By any logic, we need to be looking for a different solution. Now, me, I'm all about legalization, regulation, and education. You know, because I'm about freedom. So at the root of it, you know, we as adults need to be educated. We need to know what these things are, the drugs, what they're doing to us. They should then be legalized, and we should be able to choose. Like anything, there are so many things out there that, if abused, can cause us harm. But they're legal. Like, it's too much of a slippery slope. And where our people are already falling down that slope left and right when it comes to the war on drugs. But, you know, it's obviously a deep corporate government conspiracy that ties in so many ways, and I can't get into all of that now. So please do the research. But, you know, just remember, just because something's a law doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it just. If you have any understanding of the world we live in the political system, you know the powers that are behind the government and the laws that are made. Literally, laws are made by corporations who lobby for them. So if you really ever want to know the truth about the war on drugs or any political social issue, just follow the money trail. It's, you know what I'm saying? This stuff is not hidden. It's not classified. It's out there for all of us. So yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. Like, I could keep going on and on, but I don't want to take up your whole class time. And but just remember, you know, freedom, liberty, inherent liberty. It is our liberty to do as we will with our own physical, mental, spiritual being. And anytime the government tells you no, you can't sit at home and smoke some weed, or I don't care, sniff some coke, whatever it is. You can't do something to your own self. Then what are we? Then we are literally slaves. We are their property. They control our minds, and we can't allow this to be, my people. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think, you know, I've tried to keep it brief and try to summarize everything as clearly, concisely as I could. I hope y'all found some kind of value in it, and you know, keep digging, keep searching for the truth. Feel free to contact me, hit me up. You know, on the social media, the contacts are below in the links are below in the info section. And that's about it, y'all. Big love and respect to all of y'all. Professor Hot, yeah, that's what's up. And the war on drugs, y'all. Free my people. Peace.